From one Danish rider to another, and already a GC fight in the 2024 Critérium du Dauphiné. Up here on the Côte de la Loge, just right over my shoulder through the mist at 1,225 meters is where Magnus Cort Nielsen, the Danish rider for Norwegian team Uno X, took victory, and with it the yellow jersey off of yesterday's stage 1 winner Mads Pedersen. At the end of stage 2, he pulled out an awesome kick. He was one of the favorites coming into this finish and did so ahead of Primoz Roglic and Matteo Jorgensen, the American. Now I'm going to get into that final GC fight and what this means for Magnus Cort and the team Uno X. But first, let's take a look at this stage because it was short and punchy, marked by an escape that almost pulled it off. 142 kilometers to get up here to the finish today and a couple of climbs. In the group today, the escape group that I mentioned, 5 riders. Of note, yesterday, Matthias Labert, that was in the escape, and 4 others. Of those 4 others, I want you to take note of Bruno Amarai. He would feature later in the race. Flashing back to the GC group, well, as team Bora Hansgrohe, they were really setting up something today for their leader, new signee, Primoz Roglic, from over the offseason from team Jumbo-Visma, now called Visma Lisa Bike. The Slovenian superstar, winner of the Vuelta a España, winner of the Giro d'Italia, and now with a new team and a sights on the 2024 Tour de France, coming back from his injury there in the Tour of the Basque Country to make a show here in the Critérium du Dauphiné ahead of the Tour de France in 3 weeks' time after this race finishes. Bora Hansgrohe, the German team in green, they had Nico Denz on the front doing a lot of work, all the riders working, and then in the final, Jai Hindley, himself a Giro d'Italia winner, and Alexander Vlasov, 3-2-1 Vlasov, and he blasted off. It was him and Hindley taking turns to set things up for Primoz Roglic, but they had one thing in mind. It was pulling back the escapees and making sure their guy could get the stage win and also the bonus seconds, because those bonus seconds are going to feature, especially when we get to stage 8. We're looking at this big GC battle between Primoz Roglic and Remco Evenepoel. So we had these 2 closing climbs, a Cat 2 climb 7 kilometers long at 5.8% and a Cat 3 climb 3.1 kilometers at 6.1%. That climb would leave 7 kilometers to go. Behind, Groupama and Uno X were helping out Team Bora Hansgrohe. Uno X obviously wanted to set up Magnus Cort. At the top of that second last climb, it was Labert striking out to get the KOM points. That would earn him the Mountains jersey, the Mountain leadership at the end of the day. We saw Nielsen Palace with the mechanical. The team worked well, including Sean Quinn, the U.S. national champion, to make sure he was back on and ready for the final. On that final climb, we saw things start to really get interesting. The Côte de la Loge, 3.1 kilometers at 6.1%. And again, leaving 7 kilometers to the finish. The escapees, 10.5 kilometers to go, 30 seconds left, 3 kilometers to go to the top of the climb. Bruno Amarai, he was active. You could tell he was going to do something, and he would eventually ride free. And he was the target that the GC boys and the riders behind, including Uno X, were aiming at when they wanted to go for the stage win in GC time. Well, they were setting things up, and it was Uno X, yellow and red team. Now, this is that new Norwegian team that's been around for several years, the last few years, and working their way up, getting an invite to the Tour de France, and over the offseason, signing Danish star, Magnus Cort Nielsen. And he's an experienced gun, the 31-year-old, transferring from EF Education this offseason, twice stage winner of Paris-Nice, 6 times in the Vuelta a España, but the big ones, twice in the Tour de France. And today, he would deliver the goods. And he said himself there in the interview, he thinks it's the team's World Tour victory. We're going to have to check the stats. They were drilling it. And honestly, we thought the victory would go to the Frenchman, Bruno Amarai, from Team Decathlon Éditeur La Mondiale, who's riding so well this season. They were nailing him back, though. At 1 kilometer to go, we still had our doubts. And then, looking up that way, right behind me, through the mist, we could see 500, 400, 300 meters to go. They had him in sight. Uno X, Magnus Cort Nielsen shot out right behind him. We see the green figure, Vuelta a España, multiple winner, Giro d'Italia winner, Slovenian superstar, Primoz Roglic, right there shooting what he does best, Roglification. We thought he would pull out the victory, but it was Magnus Cort Nielsen who has the faster kick, more of a sprinter, and with that final plateau, topping out 7 kilometers to go, and then a slight drag up to the finish line, it suited the Dane's abilities. Primoz Roglic taking second. You have to figure the bonus seconds, 10, 6, and 4. 6 seconds going to Primoz Roglic, 4 seconds going to Matteo Jorgensen, who brought out his fast legs today. The team set him up, and with that third place, the bonus seconds, Matteo takes the white jersey of best young rider. We saw Magnus Cort over there in the mix zone doing interviews in the yellow jersey. The maillot jaune taking it off of Mads Pedersen, who tried so hard to stay in the group today, but at some point we saw him distanced. And there was speculation and talk at the start that maybe he could have a go, maybe he could make it over the climbs, but the climbs were a bit too much, too hard for him, and the team wanted to shift its focus to their GC rider, Theo Gegenhardt. So that's as it was. And we saw a massive group come over the line. Now, working here on finish lines at stage races and one-day races, the goal is always keep an eye on the riders coming over the line, the rider you want to chase down and speak to as soon as the race finishes. Keeping an eye on Roglic, keeping an eye on Evenepoel, because those are the superstar GC riders in this race, focusing on the Tour de France later on this summer. Keeping an eye on those guys. We saw Roglic ride downhill into the mist to his team bus, which was quite a ways down. Stop, talk with Matteo Jorgensen. He got high fives there from Sepp Kuss and from his team. Told us how it unfolded there in that fast finish, trying to see their way through the mist to understand if they were going to catch Bruno. Later on, we go behind the podium to speak to Magnus Cort Nielsen. And we had to run like a kilometer down the hill here to get to Primoz Roglic, and we did, because it was worth it today. Got that third place. Importantly, though, for the team, Bora Hansgrohe, and for Primoz Roglic, who joined the team over the offseason, is they're gelling, coming together, working as a unit, how we used to see with Jumbo-Visma when he was riding in that team. They're doing that, and those are important steps with so few race days. I think this is 13th, 14th race day of the year. He's only going to have 20 race days going into the Tour de France, and today they gelled, and he pulled it off. Not a win, but second place in those bonus seconds, 6 seconds, which, if you're looking for Remco Evenepoel, we didn't see him. He was pretty far back. He stopped, spoke with some press. I was watching him over the shoulder of Matteo Jorgensen. When I speak with Jorgensen, by the time I finished with Jorgensen, Remco was already riding off to his bus. That was it. Done with the interviews for the day. So we're going to have to see the communique later to understand his feelings on the stage. But if you're looking at the results, he's way down there. It was a bunch finish on the top of this mountain up here at 1,200 meters. But he wasn't up there and wasn't what we'd expect from Remco Evenepoel, the Belgian champion, former world champion of Team Soudal Quick-Step. So we don't know. We never saw the team on the front today like we saw with Bora Hansgrohe. So we don't know the communication that was going on between Remco and the team, and we don't know if Remco didn't have the legs or simply it was a matter of positioning coming into the final. We haven't had the benefit of replay, at least I haven't had the benefit of replay before speaking with you here at a camera. The takeaways today: Primoz Roglic, Bora Hansgrohe, they've gelled, they come together, and at the perfect time with the Tour de France on the horizon. The yellow jersey, the famous maillot jaune, well, it's no longer with Mads Pedersen, but it stays with the Danish rider Magnus Cort, and an important victory for Team Uno X, his new team after transferring to the team this offseason. Celebration at the end of day 2. Magnus Cort Nielsen, yellow jersey. We got our first glimpse of what could be the GC battle. Primoz Roglic taking time, Matteo Jorgensen finishing there in third, and the white jersey here up at the top of the Col de la Loge.